Welcome back. All right, so I previewed Chicago's season this morning. I figure why not preview St. Louis as well? A natural rival to the Chicago Blackhawks, longtime rival as well. And it's interesting because St. Louis, you can make an argument they should be a playoff team. You can also make the argument that, well, they might be good for fifth, maybe sixth in what's a pretty tough Central Division. So we'll see how things go, but looking back to 2014, 2015, and the stats from then until now, over the last 10 years, Vlad Tarasenko, overall their best performer in terms of points, 542 games, 233 goals, 258 assists, 491 points. Braden Shen, who's still here, 507 games, 151 goals, 236 assists, 387 points. Robert Thomas, 396 games in his NHL career, 86 goals, I should say, 229 assists, 315 points. Jaden Schwartz, 428 games, 120 goals, 193 assists, 313 points. Alex Pietrangelo, 453 games played, 72 goals, 206 assists, 278 points. Ryan O'Reilly, 327 games played, 97 goals, 172 assists, 269 points. David Perron, 333 games played, 112 goals, 155 assists, 267 points. Jordan Kyrou, 334 games played, 114 goals, 148 assists for 262 points. Colton Parayko, 659 games played, 61 goals, 198 assists for 259 points. And Alex Steen is on the board, the future general manager Alex Steen, 413 games, 89 goals, 168 assists, 257 points. Now we get to the top five goaltenders over that same period of time. Bennington leads the way, record of 145, 94, and 31. Jake Allen, 139, 90, and 26. Brian Elliott, 49, 22, and 9 record for Brian Elliott. Ville Husso, 34, 13, and 7 record. And Carter Hutton makes the top 5, 30, 15, and 5. But if I do this next year as well, in this same way, Joel Hofer has an excellent chance of being in the top 5. So over their last 5 seasons, they've been remarkably middle of the road. Now, of course, in 2019, they won the Stanley Cup, but the numbers do not include that season. So their points percentage balanced out from 2019-2020 until this past season, 588, which is 14th overall. Their goals for per game, 3.2, which is 12th overall. Goals against per game, 3.06, which is 19th overall. Their power play at 22.2%, that's 11th. Their penalty kill, 78.6%, that's 18th overall in the National Hockey League over that time period. This past season, right around middle of the pack as well, they were actually 16th in points percentage at 561. They had a better points percentage than the Capitals did in the East. So it's something to keep an eye on because, again, when a team barely misses the playoffs, fans will tend to remember, well, they missed the playoffs last season, but St. Louis was right there until the end. Goals for per game, 2.85 for St. Louis. That was 24th. One problem they had this past season was getting the goals when they needed them. The goals against per game was 15th at 3.02. The defense was, it misfired at points in time and dragged down Bennington's stats a little bit, Hofer's as well. If they get better defense, St. Louis could be a dark horse to at least be a spoiler in the West and get themselves into a playoff spot. Their power play, when your team has trouble scoring, very often your power play does as well, and it did. 18%, that's 24th overall in the NHL. Their penalty kill at 79.1%, 18th, which is the same number we have here over the last 5 seasons. So there's some consistency there. Now, their top 10 scorers this past season, Thomas leads the way, 26 goals, 60 assists, 86 points in 82 games. Fantastic season, I thought, for Robert Thomas. Jordan Kyrou's right there behind him. Kyrou had some rough patches, but honestly, good season overall. 31 goals, 36 assists, 67 points in 80 games. The thing with Kyrou, of course, is him and Thomas have the same contract. They're expensive contracts, so expectations pretty high. Buchnevich, 80 games, 27 goals, 36 assists, 63 points. Braden Shen, 82 games, 20 goals, 26 assists, 46 points. Brandon Saad, 82 games, 26 goals, 16 assists, 42 points. Torrey Krug, who may not play this year, we'll see. 74 games, or 77 games, I should say, 4 goals, 35 assists, 39 points. Jake Neighbors, who had himself a year as a goal scorer, 77 games, 27 goals, 11 assists, 38 points. And so the question becomes, will Neighbors be able to hit those kinds of totals again? Just looking at the goals, we'll see. He had a very, very good shooting percentage, I should say, that first half of the season. It can be hard to maintain that. Falk, 60 games, 2 goals, 28 assists, 30 points. Kevin Hayes in his 1 year in St. Louis, 79 games, 13 goals, 16 assists, 29 points. Nick Leddy, 82 games, 3 goals, 25 assists, 28 points. Their goaltending tandem, still together. Binnington, 28, 21, and 5, 913 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Hofer, 15, 12, and 1, 914 save percentage, and a single shutout. So the rookie watch, I put 2 Zachs up there, Zach Dean and Zachary Bolduc. Bolduc played 25 games this past season, so he is still technically a rookie. Zach Dean got into 9 games this past season, and there's no guarantee they're in the lineup to start the year, but again, you might be better off to have it that way. I do prefer when a general manager makes sure that he can staff his 4 lines with veterans so the rookies don't have to necessarily make it. They don't have, if they're going to get a spot, they have to earn it, that kind of thing. So their top line, probably going to see Jake Neighbors there with Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. So we'll see how that gels, because you've got Dylan Holloway here, who of course they poached from the Oilers with an offer sheet, Pavel Buchnevich and Brandon Saad. So Holloway's going to get an opportunity in St. Louis, or should get an opportunity at the very least, to play more minutes than he would have in Edmonton. May very well affect his totals. Matthew Joseph, who I think was a smart pickup in the offseason, Braden Shen and Kasperi Kapanen. Alexei Toropchenko could end up on that 3rd line. Joseph could end up on that 4th line. Radek Faksa, his contract's a little bit high, but honestly, I like Faksa. Alexander Texier and Kapanen, they could go either way with 3rd line or 4th line. So the bottom 6, there's some flexibility there. Their top 6, there's some potential for more goals and points from Kyrou, and Holloway could end up being a steal for them as well. Now their extras, by my count, Zachary Bolduc then becomes an extra. Oscar Sundqvist, Marcus Silvegaard, and he's, I think, 25, so he may get an opportunity. Zach Dean, Dalibor Dvorsky, who feels like he's ready, but maybe you just give him some time in the AHL and then bring him up when need be. Nathan Walker, we know what he can do when he gets thrown into the lineup. Mackenzie McEachern and Hugh McGing there as well in terms of depth up front. So another team with some pretty good depth when you look at their forward group, meaning they should have a pretty good AHL team as well. On the blue line, Nick Leddy, Colton Parayko, Scott Perunovich, Justin Falk, Ryan Suter, and Philip Broberg, providing that Krug doesn't play. Now, that's where the Broberg offer sheet ends up looking pretty smart for St. Louis, because if Broberg, let's say Broberg ends up in that top 4, pushes down, say, Perunovich, just as an example. There's some depth that's been added here. They bring in Suter as well, a veteran defenseman, who on the 3rd pairing shouldn't hurt them much. So, yeah, we'll see whether or not they allow fewer goals. But Broberg, a former 1st-round draft pick, there's the potential there that Broberg could have a breakthrough season with St. Louis. There were Oiler fans that were excited about him by the end of that Stanley Cup final against Florida. And now for St. Louis and St. Louis fans, I think there should be some tempered excitement there as well. And with the amount of money they're paying him, he will get every opportunity to play. And then the other extras, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, so both Josephs on the same team. Tyler Tucker, Matthew Kessel, and Corey Schooneman. And of course, with Tucker, we know he's able to drop the gloves if need be. I like the depth on the blue line for St. Louis. In net, Jordan Binnington, Joel Holford, as previously mentioned, Colton Ellis, and Vadim Zherenko are your goaltenders in the minors. Who could come up and maybe get into a game if somebody gets hurt in net. But it'll be Binnington and Hofer, providing there's no injuries, probably playing the full schedule like this past season, where they played every game. Now their cap space, with the offer sheets, their cap space dwindles away a little bit. They're down to $2,217,792 according to Puckpedia. And so they're probably done for the summer in terms of what they're going to add. But with that little bit of cap space, and as the season goes along, that cap space can grow a little bit. You get a little more playroom there. And so if St. Louis finds themselves in a position where they could push for the playoffs, they may very well be able to add at the deadline, which would be strange, but stranger things have happened. Now their schedule in October, they have 3 away, 4 home, and then 4 away. So 7 out of 11 are away from home. There's a 3-game road trip and a 4-game road trip with that 4-game homestand sandwiched in the middle. In November, 8 of their 14 games are at home. February, so we're into that Four Nations Cup area, 1 away from home, 3 at home, then the Four Nations Cup, then 3 at home and 1 away. Meaning they have a 6-game homestand, 3 before and 3 after the break. That means they get a nice long rest at home. this could benefit them in terms of injury recovery and that kind of thing. And then in April, 4 of their 7 games are at home. So if St. Louis keeps themselves in the hunt, there's the possibility that down the stretch they end up getting themselves above the playoff line. But we know how important American Thanksgiving is. If this team gets off to a good start, they may very well find themselves in a playoff spot come April. But the Central Division is very difficult to predict. One will notice, I am not making an official prediction on where I think anybody's going to finish in the divisions. This is something I did last year in the previews as well. The Stanley Cup odds at plus 6,500. I'm not surprised that they're high odds because the chances of St. Louis winning the Stanley Cup this year aren't great. First or second place, 3% of the vote on the channel went to first or second place. 22% third or fourth. 56% fifth or sixth. So a majority of the vote said they're going to be just below that middle point. 19% feel they could be 7th or 8th in the division. So pretty major sway there. 22, 56, and 19. Opinions are all over the place with St. Louis, and I get it. I agree that these opinions make a lot of sense. And of course, if they can get Snuggerud signed, he of course is in the NCAA. That could help with their forward depth as well. But let me know your thoughts, because this team could be a dangerous one that scores more goals than last year. Maybe they end up struggling and getting close to the playoffs, not quite above the line. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.